Every person who has ever done something with their life has gone through the exact chapter you're in right now. The lonely chapter. The chapter where nothing looks like it is working yet. The chapter where your life has become quieter, smaller, and much lonelier. The chapter where the people around you cannot understand what you are doing because you do not yet have the results to show for it. And that is what makes it hurt. Not only the effort, not only the waiting, but the silence that surrounds it. Because this is the phase where you no longer fit the life you are leaving, but you have not yet arrived at the life you are building. You are somewhere in between. And in between is the most difficult part. In between feels awkward. It feels lonely. It feels like waking up every day and giving your all to something that won't give you any results. That is the lonely chapter. And almost everyone who quits here. Not because they are weak or incapable, because there is nothing visible yet to help them believe. No results, no reward big enough to calm the mind. Just the work, just the waiting. Just the long stretch of invisible effort where you begin to wonder whether the pain is worth it. This is where most people start to panic. They mistake silence for failure. They mistake delay for rejection. But that is because most people do not understand how meaningful things begin. Meaningful things do not begin with certainty. They begin with a cost. They begin with discomfort. They begin with the feeling that you are pouring yourself into a future that has not given you any reason to trust it yet. And this feels uncertain. This uncertainty will make people quit. And if you try to talk to someone about it, they don't understand. That is why the beginning is so lonely. People will judge what they can't understand. They will laugh at your effort. But they do not see what you go through in silence to build this success. They do not see what it costs to stay with something when there are no results, and it all feels pointless. But this is the chapter where you just have to keep going, and sometimes leave some things behind. The chapter where your old circle no longer fits you, but the new life has not opened its doors yet. That in-between season is where a man is forged. He is forged where almost nothing makes sense from the outside. And that is why this chapter feels so personal. Because nobody can really walk it for you. People can encourage you, but no one can give you your discipline. No one can build your patience for you. There are certain prices every meaningful life demands in private. This is one of them. And the hard part is that while you are paying it, it often looks like loss. It looks like being left behind. It looks like watching other people live the life you want, while your own life feels full of pointless effort. But this is a season of planting. And when you understand that, the lonely chapter begins to change its meaning. It is still painful, still quiet. But it is no longer empty. Now it becomes the place where you plant your roots. The man you want to become does not just happen overnight. It costs something. And usually what it costs is the very thing most people are unwilling to surrender. Comfort, ease, the reassurance of being understood while you build. That is why so many people never become much. Not because they lack desire, because they could not tolerate the invisible phase long enough. Some of the greatest things you will ever build will first ask you to become the kind of person who can keep showing up when there is nothing to show for it. That is the test. Not whether you can work when the outcome is clear, but whether you can remain faithful when the outcome is uncertain. That is the chapter you are in. Loneliness has a way of making every doubt louder. Every setback feels more personal. It makes you question whether you are truly building something or simply wasting your time. But that is exactly how this chapter separates people. Because most men need evidence to continue. The rare ones learn how to continue before the results arrive. That is what makes them rare. The willingness to do the work when it no longer feels good. The willingness to persist even when it feels pointless. The life you want is built by staying focused on one goal. And the cruel beauty of it is that while you are inside that process, you often cannot see it clearly. You only feel the cost. You feel the hours, the missed comfort, the distance from your friends. That distance is the price. And if you can stop treating that price like it's the enemy and instead lean into it, this chapter will change everything. This chapter is not only normal, it is necessary. Because the lonely chapter does more than test whether you want the life. It tests whether you are willing to be remade for it. It forces honesty. It reveals whether you are attached to the path itself or only to the quick validation you hoped it would bring. That is the choice hidden inside this season. Not simply whether you will keep going, but whether you will let this chapter make you into the man you're trying to become. Because that is what it is doing, whether you can feel it yet or not. It is teaching you how to move without applause, how to keep faith with your own direction when the outside world is telling you the opposite. That kind of strength does not appear in easy chapters. It is paid for here, in the quiet, in the waiting. That is why you must not abandon this season too early. Do not abandon the chapter simply because it is lonely. Do not confuse the absence of visible proof with the absence of progress. Some of the most important changes in your life will happen before you can explain them to anyone. This is one of those changes. So if life feels quiet right now, if the work feels unseen, if the distance between where you were and where you are going feels almost unbearable, understand what this may mean. It may mean you are exactly where a meaningful life begins, in the lonely chapter. And one day, when the results finally do arrive, when the life you are building finally takes shape, you will look back on this season differently. You will not see it as the chapter where nothing was happening. You will see it as the chapter that made you into the man who can achieve anything he sets his mind to. Because every meaningful path has a lonely, painful beginning. And that is not proof that you are lost. It is the price of becoming someone stronger, rarer, and capable of extraordinary things.